The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
Oh shit! It's Vince Russo!
Vince McMahon's best-kept secret.
I am the Antichrist of professional wrestling.
David Arquette won the world title.
I've got a wife, 3 kids at home, and I really don't need this shit.
How can this show be so awful, Mr. McMahon? I didn't think it was.
The Angle on a pole match.
And Hogan, you big bald son of a bitch, kiss my ass.
Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. McMahon, the family, the Rock, they screwed us all.
Now you're the editor, right?
Mankind did it! Jumpy, beat me! Goldberg steered Russo out of the cage.
I'm from New York.
I'll get downright nasty.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
This is Jeff Lane. I'm the guy who is barely awake because I barely survived this 5+ hour Survivor Series. Almost 6, I guess, Big Vito. But of course, he's joining me here on Vince Russo's The Brand. How's it going, Vito?
The Pavarotti of hard shots to the body is getting things done here on Getting Color. People, we dealt with the bowling issue. We know who's the man with the show now, as I am solo with Jeff Lane. Vince is off tonight. Jeff, what did you think? Go ahead, lead us off. It's always good to have the co-host with the most, especially when you're with the host who does the roast. I don't know, Jeff. It's something right now. I'm feeling it. Twitter has been blowing up. Let's just before we get into this, I got to tell you something. Twitter has been blowing up crazy this week. I don't know what's been going on, but you talk about a hot commodity in the podcast business. This brand has been mentioned every single day. And you know, when you are going good, Jeff, I got to tell you, people come out of the woodwork and they bring up stories about you. And you know what it is? When they want the rub and they want to be relevant, they mention your name. Everybody has the Vince Russo haters out there. Everybody mentions Vince Russo on their podcast. But soon as I've started podcasting and things have been going good and people have been like me, I've been doing other podcasts, it seems my name has been coming out on other podcasts for whatever reason. I'm not going to mention the podcast because the secret of having a successful podcast, people, is never to mention the other name of the people and never give them the rub on your show. Because if you need other people, you will never be successful on your own. That's why Getting Color, that's why the Big Vito brand never mentions nobody, because I don't have no beef with nobody. I don't need nobody else's credibility. I have my own credibility. I have my coworkers' credibility. I have the team credibility of the brand. I have my producer, Noel, as my credibility. And it just seems that sometimes, like, we all heard the Vince Russo on this podcast and Vince Russo on this podcast and Vince Russo, and they blamed him for 20 years. Well, there was a story about me from 18 years ago, and people asked me, what do you have to say about it? I said, well, if it was true, wouldn't you have heard about it in the dirt sheets, or wouldn't you have heard about it on the internet way before this? I thank the people who mention me every day on their podcast. Thank you for bringing me more followers. Thank you for validating me as being relevant. I greatly appreciate it. I love you guys. Thank you. Now, with Vince's hiatus tonight, it's going to be Jeff and I doing the podcast. And as everybody knows, we have resolved the Kenny Bolin 2. Now, I know people were mad at Kenny. I'm going to say this, and they say that everybody buried him, and some not nice things to say. We had a good podcast last week where Son came on. We rectified things. Guys, something in life you got to learn. Something I believe in. I say, you know what? Everybody deserves a second chance. Well, Kenny, this is going to be your 31st chance. We're going to forgive you. Guys with the brand, you know, people out there on Twitter, you know, don't be so hard on the guy. He made a mistake. It wasn't, you know, maybe malicious. Maybe he didn't know any better. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I don't hold no grudges. And guys, you know, give him a break. I know you guys have been hard on him, real hard, like dirt hard. I appreciate you guys supporting me. I appreciate you guys supporting my wife. It's greatly appreciated. Now let's get the team over and let's get Podcast One, the Realm Network, the Russo brand, the Big Vito brand, Jeff Flane, and all the rest of the guys who are with the team. Let's get the shows over so we can have a positive effect on the rest of the, Twitter world, podcast world, and let's just have positive vibes. That's the way I feel. That's the way it's going to be dealt with. Jeff, let's start the show off. Go ahead and lead us off.
Well, a lot of activity on the pre-show. I think there was 3 matches. We had Elias and Matt Hardy. We had Enzo and Kalisto, and then we had Owens and Zayn versus Breezango. Any thoughts on any of the stuff on the pre-show?
I have my notes here, and I watched the Enzo match, okay? Now, guys, we have been promoting Enzo here for the past, I don't know how many months. He's been the stalwart of the 205 Live. Guys, I have to tell you, this was not a good match. It was not a good – I did not like it, not one bit. Enzo – and I give Enzo credit. He came up with some new moves. But Kalisto is the ring general, and Kalisto is supposed to lead him a little bit. And Kalisto looks like he's more inexperienced than Enzo. Enzo's got the shtick. He's got the clothes. He's got the look. He's got the charisma. But you always put somebody in there with a veteran to get the best match out of him. And I think Kalisto is just out there, and it showed. They're missing things. It just looks sloppy. It was just – I did not like it. I have to say that had to be Enzo's worst match that I've seen him in. And I can't blame Enzo, guys, and I'll tell you why. When you are an experienced worker and you have the capabilities and you wrestled in Mexico and you wrestled here and you wrestled there and you've been wrestling for the WWE before Enzo, and you can't lead him to a good match, shame on you, because you will never be put in that position again. And I just I hope they have a better program for him. I hope they have something better for him coming up. Thank you for coming, Kalisto. I don't know what they're going to do with you now, but I can tell you, you're not going to be in the title picture anytime soon. We had a second match that I watched. Guys, excuse me, I didn't watch the Elias and Matt Hardy match. I apologize. Do you know who went over in that match, Jeff?
Yeah, Elias went over.
I got to tell you, if they gave Elias the win, they're trying to build him back up after the Jason Jordan thing. He lost his guitar. Do you know if he had his guitar with him or if he had anything different?
I was busy watching Nate Peterman throw 5 interceptions in the first half for the Bills, so I did not see that match.
All right, so then you didn't really miss anything. Okay, no slight to Matt Hardy or Elias. The other match I watched on the pre-show was Owens and Breezango. Guys, I did not like that match either. I did not like it. I mean, my take on this thing is, how do you go from the main event of Raw and then you go to the pre-show on Survivor Series? You're wrestling Breezango. You got the win. They put you in a ha-ha spot. They're not taking you serious anymore. You were with Jericho. You were serious. You were singles heel. You were serious. You did something to piss somebody off, like we've been saying, and now you're in a ha-ha spot with Breezango. Nothing against Breezango. They have their own thing with their own people. Kevin Owens don't belong there. Sami Zayn, I could see being there. Good match. I did not like it. It was a terrible match. I just was like, okay, we're starting off flat in my opinion. So, I mean, that's how I look at those 2 matches. Now, go ahead, Jeff. Lead us into the next match.
Well, yeah, and we're going to get ready to kick off the main show here. And before we get into that stuff, I just wanted your thoughts. I'm sure our listeners are sick and tired of me discussing the length of these main shows like WrestleMania. I said it, SummerSlam, I said it. Well, here we are again. And I wonder if fan fatigue is starting to set in. Some pictures that came out, and the NXT show the night before did not sell out, which I believe is the first time that they've done these, multiple nights with the big WWE event. That the NXT show has had a lot of empty seats. The crowd came in really late for this show on the pre-show. Is this stuff just, I mean, what's your opinion on the length? From the start of the pre-show to the end of this show was almost 6 hours. It was like 5 hours and 45 minutes.
That's a long time. Back in the day with WWF tapings, guys, we used to tape from. It used to be 3 and 4 shows they used to tape, and you were there for 10 hours. Nobody could sit through 10 hours, 11 hours of wrestling. No, I don't care how great of a fan you are. You can't. Even the boys get tired. I did, for the first time, I watched a little, because I had some friends over the house, and I watched some of the War Games. They took a lot of the stars out of the NXT, and they brought them up to the main roster, okay? From what I've seen, I've maybe seen 1 or 2 guys that maybe have potential to go to the main roster, but everybody just looked like an average Joe. And I think they lost their pizzazz because they're taking everybody out. They're not replacing them or sending guys back down to keep that brand going. I think if they manufactured it where they rotated guys on and off from NXT to SmackDown or Raw, I think they would have a better success rate and a better view of how to fill the houses. Now, when Kevin Owens was the headliner there, they sold out everywhere. When Nakamura was there, they sold out play everywhere. When they had Enzo and Kaz there, they would, these are guys who made the money. These are guys who were doing good for them. I just don't see them doing that. I think they need a rotation in place to do a little better job of getting their house together. Now, the house tonight, was it a packed house, the Survivor Series?
At the time of this recording, I haven't seen the info.
Guys, sometimes it's hard to get, 2 big shows and it's got to do with financial, because how are you going to afford $100 a day on tickets, then parking, then hotel, then you got to eat, then you got to travel. That's a lot of money to spend just for wrestling before the holidays, guys. So I can understand that. And that's big buildings and big events. And there's no way to fill those. I mean, even pro football stadiums are not doing it. Baseball players are not doing it. The basketball teams are not even doing it. And the football especially are lacking in ratings and lacking in jersey sales and fan participation and attendance. Everything is down. And when you ask for astronomical money to go to these events, you just don't got it. You just don't got it. I don't care who you are, what you said. You just not. It's not feasible. Not feasible.
Any thoughts on the 5-man announce team?
Too many guys, too many voices. They just maybe should have had 2 and 2. 5 men was too much. Maybe even just 1 and 1 to go back and forth to argue. With maybe a middleman, and did something different tonight. But having 5 people on a panel plus all the other announcers that you had out there, how could you have all those people announcing at the same time? Gets a little crazy. Michael Cole looked like a sore thumb. You had Booker T out there. You had the SmackDown crew. And David Otunga wasn't around because of his something happened with him on a personal level that he's not there. But that would have been another guy. They had Shawn Michaels replace him on the pre-show. So, and I have to tell you, with Shawn Michaels tonight, and guys, I'm not being a hater, and I think Shawn Michaels, I have no heat with Shawn Michaels and nothing. Like you said, on this show, we talk about what's good, what's bad. We're not burying people. With Shawn Michaels on commentary tonight, he made no sense of nothing, didn't prove a point, and he was just speaking, and he didn't have an agenda. And it showed. And if you're going to go on the show, guys, it's just like what we do here. If we're here on the show, guys, I take notes. I look at the show. I critique it. I do what I got to do. When you're an announcer for the company, guy, first thing you do is you look at the matches. You get information on the guys. You have it in front of you. You have something to say about the guys. This way you know what you're talking about. You know the angle, know their hometown, know what he did. This way it's interesting. When you're sitting there and you're just saying a bunch of ands and buts and hows and wheres, it looks like mumbo jumbo, and then the other 3 announcers have to cover for you. So, and a couple times Lawler did it, Renee did it. They covered for Michaels, and I just think that it's got to be better preparation. Not that Shawn Michaels can't go out there and hit a super kick, or he can't cut a promo, but when you're out of practice and you're not in the thick of things, it's very hard. So that's my thoughts on the announce team tonight for just about everybody.
Well, the first match on the actual Survivor Series was the Shield going over New Day. What is your thoughts on the philosophy? To me, it's like completely changed on what going on first means. A lot of times now it's like they try to put one of the key matchups first to get the crowd going hot. And it used to be different in the old days. You know, it used to be lower card to the main event. You know, some shows would do the main event in the middle, depending on, you know, what time it was and things like that. But normally opening the show was not like a huge deal as it is now. What do you think about that? Am I off base?
No, I think they want to put a good match first, and they don't know which match to put, and they figured they'd put their hottest commodity out there was the Shield. I would have personally liked to see the Usos open up the show because they're better openers than anybody in the business, and that's not a slight on them. I'm taking that as a compliment. And people who look at that and they say, oh, you're the opener, you're curtain jerking, you're saying all these things, but people realize the opening match is the most important match of the night because it sets the tone for the rest of the company, sets the tone for the rest of the pay-per-view, the event, whatever you're doing, that's how the people are going to go off it. My notes on this match is it was a decent match. My view was they were all trying too hard to get over a bunch of moves. It looked like a big cluster. And there was too much stuff to do and no room to execute the moves. Meaning, too many guys in there that were trying to do too many things. They were trying to execute things, and people were kind of running into each other. And it just didn't came off jumbled. Okay? And I think that it could have been done better. Not to say that they all worked hard and they tried. They really did. I give all those guys a lot of credit. But when there's too many things, less is more. And when there's too many spots to get in, it's just too much. The finish was okay. It was different. You know, I give it to the Shield. I called the Shield to win. I think that it was a decent opener. You know, some glitches, some miscues, you know, just too much to jam into that time space.
My nitpick for this match, and I nitpick on this stuff a lot, but I think this is a big deal when it comes to people not having their intelligence insulted by watching wrestling. The finish of this match, the triple power bomb, the ref counts the pin, but the two illegal guys are still in the ring when he's counting it. They shouldn't be in the ring. The ref should not be counting if they follow the rules of wrestling. And they are so lax in different situations, applying the rules to the match. And I think a lot of that affects the psychology of a match, the way it comes across, especially to the casual viewer who's sitting it down and they're like, wait a minute, how come he made the guy get out of the ring earlier and he wouldn't count it, but now these two guys are in there and he's counting it? Stuff like that, to me, I don't know, I just think it hurts the product. You got any thoughts on that?
It does hurt the product because when I was in there, they said you couldn't be in there for more than 5 seconds. When you made a tag, you had to do your move and you had to get out. If you didn't get out, the match was over. The ref was going to shoot the bell. Just like on a 5 count. 5 count comes, you're not still pounded. You're done. That's it. You know, and whose fault is it? It's yours. If you don't count out before 3 and that's not the finish, well, guess what, fellas? I guess you messed up. The referee's not to blame but you. But I think you're right on that point that they're not asserting the rules and it's become a little lax. But like I said, they're trying to cram in a lot of different stuff when you have 6 and 7 and 8 guys in there one time. So it's a little difficult to keep that, you know, that flow going. And some of the referees might not have the experience to get the guys out of there and assert themselves. I noticed that the referees don't assert their authority, which is a very good point to make, because how many times did you see a ref go, anytime that you better get out of the ring and you better make a tag and you better do this? Not everybody's doing it. It's very lax, and you made a good point.
So next we see Stephanie with the women's Raw Survivor Series team. I like this. I thought there should have been more of this stuff, actually, especially when there was only 7 matches on the main show in about 4 hours. I think they could have built the drama a little more for these matches, Raw versus SmackDown. But I liked her going through each individual person on the women's team. I wish we would have seen that on the SmackDown side too.
No, I think it's right. I think the pre-tape for them guys was supposed to be good. I was surprised we didn't see a SmackDown jamboree, or them doing something, or them having cocktails, or getting mani-pedis, or doing something creative, you know what I mean, or like being relaxed. But you're definitely right. It was definitely a good segment just for them to do a rah-rah thing, and no, it was good. It was something that was appreciated. And remember, people, what makes characters? The vignettes. The vignettes are very important in whatever you do.
Yeah, and I know I read that they did something with the SmackDown girls on the pre-show, but I don't count that. I'm talking about the 4-hour Survivor Series. When you go back and watch this on the network, or you buy the DVD, or if you don't even watch the pre-show, you won't know that happened. So that's why I'm not counting anything that happened on the pre-show. That's just my bias there. But then Team Raw, the women's match, they beat Team SmackDown. Asuka is your survivor. What were your thoughts on this?
I'm going to ask this, and I'm going to say this. Why Becky Lynch was first out of there, the team captain, I have no clue. That girl is a good wrestler. She is believable. She's pretty. She's got a look. She's got charisma. She doesn't get a break, and they always bury her. I don't get it. There is somebody up there in the big office who does not like this girl. There had to be something that happened, because there is no reason to squash her, make her look feeble, make her look non-existent. I'm sorry, but I think her going out first was terrible. Bayley going out, I mean, that was good. I mean, Bayley needed to go out early. I think it was a great way for Nia Jax to get out of there, the way they took care of her. I definitely think that there was a mix-up on the Alicia Fox finish. I think that was the hiccup in the match, and that changed the whole concept of the match. I mean, you could see that something went wrong, and it was either she didn't kick out, and the ref pushed her out and said, "All right, get out, you're done." And I thought that was on point. But I got to tell you, good finish tonight with that, and I just think that Asuka getting the push now is, I think it's going to be I think they're trying to make this girl. You can see she's going to be the next big thing. I wrote something down on my notes. No, I think everything I think is good. I mean, like I said, it was a good match. You had some ins and outs. You had some stuff in there. It was a good back and forth. Nia Jax getting taken out the way she did was very important. Asuka getting the push to be the sole survivor was good. Becky Lynch going out first, I didn't like. Bayley getting out of there, that's good. Jeff, what do you think about feuds coming out of this now?
Well, a lot of the stuff, it seemed like it was inter-brand that we might not see. Like, I love the Nia Jax and Tamina stuff. I thought that was booked really well. I don't know. Like, they tease stuff with like Becky Lynch and Asuka for no reason. We're not going to see that, obviously, unless they do another superstar shakeup and switch brands. But it's like all the girls on the Raw side were all rah-rah lovey-dovey. So I don't know I don't know where they go with that. I have no idea.
What'd you think of Carmella taking the stiff shots from Asuka? It looked like she got knocked out, boy. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell. Of course, it sounded really good. Maybe they worked it really well. I'm no expert on that kind of stuff, but it looked vicious. I'll tell you that.
I'm gonna tell you, like I said before, if she's gonna work that style with these girls, there's nobody who's gonna want to work with her, and there's nobody who's gonna be wanting to do it. And I just think she needs to bring some more wrestling to her repertoire instead of this stiff stuff, because like I said, Bayley's not believable. The boss is there. You notice that all the big hitters were gone in that match. I don't know if anybody realized that. Becky Lynch, Bayley, the boss, and on the other team you had who went out early? Natalya stayed in. Carmella went out.
Yeah.
But you had Becky Lynch. It was Becky Lynch, and who was the second girl who went out?
Naomi, or was it Naomi? Or no? I think Natalya. No, it was Carmella and Naomi, because it was down to Natalya and Tamina.
Did you notice that all the champions went out first?
Yeah.
I thought that was something. The boss, she lost to Bazizzle. She's not there no more. I'm telling you, she's long gone. I think a change is coming and a shakeup is coming in this division.
So next we saw Stephanie and Daniel Bryan. Vito, why didn't we get a Stephanie and Shane thing backstage? I thought that was a no-brainer, but that was nowhere to be found.
I don't know if they just wanted to keep them separate. I don't know if they wanted to keep the surprise for the end of the match, like nobody was in cahoots. But you know, I mean, when it comes to the bigger shows, if they do go down this road again, I think it'll be, you know, Shane against Stephanie for total control of the whole company again. You know, I think, you know, it could be do something like that. Shane going and wrestling, you know, and him being interactive with all the wrestlers and getting involved with things, him being involved in storylines. Like I said, guys, they're desperate for fan participation and desperate to get attention. So I think that's why they're doing this right now. The Stephanie and Daniel Bryan thing, yeah, it's a good mix. You know, hey, how you doing, Daniel? Look at your team. Whoa, whoa, hey, hey. You know, typical Stephanie stuff. But, you know, in the end, it's just, I think it was a filler promo. They had to get Daniel Bryan in on there. They had to get as many people that are on the main shows on TV to keep things flowing.
Next, and this was the surprise to me of the night, Baron Corbin over The Miz. That surprised me, which, you know, I like unpredictability. I would have put money down The Miz would go over here, especially the way Baron Corbin's been treated over the past few months. But Corbin gets the win. A very weird spot for Renee Young to get an interview standing over The Miz, still laying there interviewing Baron Corbin. But what were your thoughts on this match?
That was the shock of the night. I called it for The Miz to win. I called it. Now, what does this win do for Baron Corbin? This solidifies him as champion. I'll tell you why. Like we were talking about in the previous weeks, he has had the most lackluster championship run of any champion to date. Now, he hadn't beaten anybody. He was fighting, what's the other guy's name there? Not
Sin Cara.
Sin Cara. No big deal, not a big thing, but like it was just lackluster. Now with his win over The Miz, this puts a feather in his cap. He actually beat a champion tonight. A solidified, honorable, real deal champion. So that gives him credibility in his stock. Does it push him to fight AJ Styles in a champion for champion match and unify the titles? Where does he go with this? Right now, he can only go up because they brought him down so low, they had to unbury him a little bit. I hope that is the case. The Miz, always good. This loss is not going to hurt The Miz at all. This is not going to hurt anything that he's doing. He's going to go back to Raw. He's going to have Miz TV. I bet you tomorrow night he's going to get on Monday Night Raw. He's going to get a big, huge win over somebody, and you know the party's going to begin. I could see the Miz keeping this title to WrestleMania, and possibly longer. So this doesn't hurt the Miz not one bit.
Then we had a little interview with Paul Heyman by Charlie, and then the Usos over Cesaro and Sheamus. I thought the Usos looked really good in this match. It was a better match than I thought, especially with really no story between these two teams. But your thoughts on that?
I said that this was going to be a good, solid tag team match, and I predicted that the Usos were going to win because they are the best tag team in the WWE today. And Cesaro and Sheamus, you know, like I said, they weren't going to waste the Shield, Rollins and Ambrose. And Sheamus and Cesaro, they lose nothing. They keep their titles. All they did was do a favor for the Usos. They're still going to keep their steam. Usos are the premier tag team in all of wrestling right now. They're the best tag team WWE has. They had to protect them, give them the win. And if anybody didn't notice, the Usos are being seen as baby faces, and they come out as heels. So they have that Steve Austin air to them. You know what I mean? So that's a good thing. I think that's a positive for the Usos. I think it's a positive for Sheamus and Cesaro. Good, solid match, guys. Everybody worked hard, and I think everybody was happy with that match.
Remember, everybody listening on Podcast One, our Realm Network VIPs got this show yesterday and on video. You can get all these shows on video 5 days a week. You have up to 30 days to even download and keep all of these shows for yourself. We still do Castrating the Marks weekly on the Realm Network in video and audio. Check us out at russosbrand.com. You can try us. It's less than $1 a week. There's no long-term commitments. You can opt out at any time. Vito, next we had Charlie with Jason Jordan, and I liked this. I liked not just throwing him away because he wasn't on the show. I liked that they at least continued that story of him losing his spot. I was a little surprised that we didn't see him during the match or later on, but I did like them at least having him in this spot here. What are your thoughts?
I thought that, like I said earlier, they had to get as many people on the show to keep their storylines alive and give them a promo, give something. They gave him a little promo. They made him look a little like, okay, I'm going to turn heel and I'm going to get my revenge. So there was your heel turn, because I think he's doing a horrible job as a babyface. Not that I just don't think he's ready for the position of singles wrestler. I've been saying this all along, but they're pushing him, and they kept him alive. I mean, that's all it was, guys. Keep alive, honorable mention on the pay-per-view. And I'm sure he'll get a match tomorrow with somebody. I don't know who, but I'm sure it'll be interesting.
Next was Charlotte defeating Alexa Bliss. Thoughts on this match, Vito? And also, were you surprised that we didn't have a Carmella cash-in or at least a tease?
Guys, I predicted that Charlotte was going to win this match because of the name value. They needed something extra on this. As you can see, there's only 7 matches on the pay-per-view. I thought it was a good match. That Alexa Bliss is a good little worker. She's a good wrestler. She does her character good. Charlotte Flair is a hell of a woman wrestler. I mean, both of them are champions, respectable champions, believable champions. So there was no loss. Nobody lost tonight in this match. Charlotte got the nod. Held her own against the best. And I'm hoping that we get to see more of this rivalry in the days to come.
Yeah, did you expect Carmella here, or I don't know? I felt like this was a good spot at least to tease it or something,
I'm disappointed that she didn't get it. I was going to say, I've been predicting that Carmella was going to run in and do something with the Money in the Bank, but I guess they're going to wait for her to. They're waiting for something with her, guys, and they're waiting either for a manager to take her by the hand. I think they're going to let her, they're going to make her sit with this until something comes along that's going to spark her to cash it in. And it's going to be a manager. It's going to be something big. It's going to be somebody coming in who's going to make her rise and cross over the finish line with this. Yeah, I could have seen her running down. The place would have went ballistic because she would have went for Alexa Bliss. She could have went for Charlotte. She could have been choosing who to go to, and then she could have took off and blew the crowd up. That would have been a great spot. But for some reason, the WWE is holding her back from this. And I think it's good because the other Money in the Bank winner cashed in so early that I think they got to stretch this out as long as possible.
Yeah, I think something that wrestling is missing for the most part, a lot of anyway, are just really creative swerves. And you had been talking here, hey, could we see Carmella cash in on Alexa? And I think that would have been a good one. If she comes out and they thought, oh, here she is, she's going to cash in on Charlotte, but boom, she cashes in on Alexa, takes the belt, and she goes to Raw. I think stuff like that makes people oh, that's awesome, and maybe, gets them to watch Raw or something like that.
Does anybody ever think, and now here's some career, I hope the people listening down at the big office don't steal my idea, because they always steal some of our ideas. But I think it would be the coolest thing in the world. Something different, people. And you heard it here first on Getting Color. What happens if Carmella keeps the Money in the Bank until the next Money in the Bank and she wins that one. Now she has 2 Money in the Bank briefcases. So if she gets suckered on one, she's got a backup. If she cashes one, where will she cash the other one? Could she run in on a knocked out man's champion and go for the cover? Anybody ever think of that? I think, I mean, there's no saying that you can't cash in on any title, or it has to be a women's champion. What happens, say, AJ Styles, say he gets knocked out by a chair. He's out cold. They're ending the show. All of a sudden, Carmella comes running down the friggin' aisle, and then she friggin' cashes the thing in. Now the place will come unglued, and it'll be like, wow. And if she wins, I mean, what do you think will happen with that, guys? I mean, 2 Money in the Banks. WWE, if you're listening, I know I'm on the network. I know you're charging $9.95. I know I don't get any royalties, but you're welcome to my idea. Go ahead and use it up all you want.
Brock versus AJ Styles was next, and this match, in my opinion anyway, it went longer than I thought it was going to be. The way that this match laid out, we had Brock just destroying AJ for the most part at the beginning. AJ did get a few comebacks, and there was a longer comeback near the end of the match where he hit a lot of his moves. Brock was selling, had to kick out a few times. There's a couple, 2.9 counts, and then Brock ends up getting the win. What were your thoughts on this?
Guys, you knew Brock was going to assert his will from the beginning. You knew he was going to go in and annihilate AJ Styles. You saw it was rugged. You saw it was tight. You saw there was no giving. When you're in there with Brock, you're in there with the real deal. And those shots that AJ was taking, they were hard. They were stiff. You're going to come and play in the big playpen, you better bring your big boy panties, because there's no crying in wrestling. But I thought it was good. And when AJ had him on a little bit of a roll there, it was good. The fans got up. They got with it. But I think everybody in the building knew that he was not going to win that match. I think that both of them put a good showing. At first, I thought it was going to be like, man, this looks like a Randy Orton finish type deal where he's going to beat the hell out of him. But then it kind of turned. Was it smooth? No. Was it crisp? No. Did it make a point? Yes. So as far as it being a mechanical style spot fest, no, it was a rugged, lumbering match between two guys who were good wrestlers, and they made the best out of a situation, because they didn't want Jinder Mahal in there. They wanted a name guy. They wanted somebody who could work and move around. And I honestly, at first, I thought that this was going to be a slaughter. And I thought that you could just tell on Brock's face and Paul Heyman's face that just something wasn't right. And you could tell that something was up, like the whole match. But that's just my feeling and the way I look at things. But I tell you guys, give it to AJ Styles. He did a great job. Brock Lesnar, aces for you for giving that guy a good comeback and making it believable. Brock is the winner. And I think it was, was it match of the night? No. Was it one of the solid matches on the card? Yes. Because I think everybody banked on that being, and it definitely was not match of the night tonight.
Let me ask you your opinion on this, because, I really can't figure this one out. But, you look at, with this not being a title for title match, it was a non-title match. The winner does not get both belts. So we have AJ, who is the WWE champion, and for, all of time, that has been the most prestigious belt in the business, arguably. I mean, at some time you could say the WCW, the NWA may have been as prestigious, but I believe, overall, most people would agree that the WWE, WWF Championship has been the most prestigious belt. Here we have the Universal Champion wiping the floor with the WWE Champion, and now he goes back to SmackDown, still the champion. In your opinion, Vito, does that now state that belt is number 2 to the Universal title, or is that irrelevant?
It's irrelevant because it's just like when a champion, they put their title up in a non-title match and the other guy wins. Does that take away from the belt? So just take it, guys, as a non-title bout. Doesn't say whose belt is better. It's just like, okay, the Miz is going to give pick somebody, Bo Dallas a title shot. All right, belt is not on the line, of course. You know, Bo's still on, and Bo rolls him up 1, 2, 3. Does that diminish the belt? No. So you look at it in that concept, champion versus champion, no belts on the line, best man wins. Okay, best out of 3 series. Brock got the first one. AJ will get the second one. Brock will get the third one.
Remember, everybody, we got code Russo for 10% off at collarandelbowbrand.com for your wrestling shirts, where wrestling passion meets street fashion. And now, Vito, you and Noel have a code for that as well, where people can support you.
You know, guys, I came prepared tonight because what do I have here? Collar and elbow right there. We have a black shirt. We have the white shirt. Collar and elbow, guys. Collar and elbow. If you use the code, it's 10% off, and the code is Big Vito. That's right, Big Vito, a collar and elbow. Guys, you can't go wrong. And you know what the special thing is? We have our own merchandise section with 3 different shirts on there. That's right. My creative team designed 3 shirts, and they're beautiful shirts, guys. Go to Collar and Elbow. Ask for the Vito section, the Big Vito brand. Use the code, the Big Vito, and get yourself some nice Christmas gifts. And I think everybody will be happy.
So there you go, guys. Support Vito. Collarandelbowbrand.com. Now, Vito, let's get to the main event. Team Raw versus Team Smackdown. Before we get into it, I don't know if you, in my opinion, the goof of the night was Michael Cole referring to Triple H as the wife of Stephanie McMahon. I popped huge for that. I don't know if you caught that.
Well, we did catch it. The wife of Stephanie McMahon. I'm sure he'll get something for that when he gets his check or gets in the back. It was a good ha-ha. Everybody was in there. Now, let's go through this match, guys. What did everybody – now, Jeff, I'm going to give you some questions. What did you think about the entrances of everybody there? Okay? Out of the 5 Raw guys, who belonged and who didn't belong?
Well, I thought Triple H, Angle, and Strowman belonged. Maybe Joe. And I didn't think Finn Balor belonged.
And on the SmackDown side, who belonged and who didn't belong?
Orton, Cena, Shane definitely belonged. Rude should belong. I don't think they've booked him to his potential yet. And I think Nakamura could belong there, but I don't think he does yet.
Right. Now, watching these guys tonight, watching them move, watching them do their stuff, I would like – I'm going to ask your thoughts first, and then I'm going to give my opinion. What were your thoughts on Triple H tonight?
Well, it was like I went from one direction to the other. At first, I'm like, again, they just like completely wussed out Kurt Angle and made him look bad. Like it's like that's what they've been doing to Kurt for the past 2 months, is just making him look awful. Again, he just gets manhandled by Triple H, tossed out of the ring, and then Triple H gets the win. And I'm like, come on. But then when Triple H really put over Strowman, I changed my mind, because the way he sold for Strowman, the look on his face when Strowman had him down the corner, I thought that was great. So at the end of the night, I liked what Triple H did, because I thought he made Strowman look unbelievable.
Okay. Now, as far as Joe and Finn Balor, what did you think of them? Do you think that they just didn't fit in at that level? Is that what you think?
I thought Joe looked believable in there. I thought Finn, they booked him well for what he did. I was surprised, though, that Cena took the coup de grace. I wouldn't see somebody like John Cena wanting to take that move from Balor, but he did. You know, I guess that says something about John Cena trying to help the young guys. I still don't like that move. But I don't think he came across unbelievable at any point in the match, and that's what I was afraid of, being in there with those other guys.
Now, with that said, and Braun Strowman asserting himself as a good heel, now we get to Kurt Angle. What did you think of Kurt Angle tonight?
I didn't like the way he was booked. He got some good offense in, but I felt like he was in there too long. I don't think he got – I thought, and I may be wrong, I thought they said on the show that him and Shane were going to start the match. Like Kurt said, I'm starting the match, and you better start the match. I don't think that happened. I may be remembering this wrong. But I felt like the story of Kurt was not told. It just ended up him getting jobbed out by Triple H.
Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you the sad part for me tonight. And this is gonna go out there, and a lot of people, I hope you understand what I'm saying. And please take this with no disrespect to anybody. But me watching Kurt Angle tonight wrestle, and me wanting to, I don't know if people know the story of Kurt Angle and myself. When I got to the WWE, I wanted to elevate my game more than what I was doing. And I would pick Kurt Angle's brain like an awful lot. And I used to ask him, how do you train for the Olympics? You know, I says, listen, what do you run? You know, and he says, Vito, you have to run 3 miles in 18 minutes to be in the Olympics. He said, but what I do is I wrestle, I run 3 miles in 23 minutes or less, do 200 squats. So I went home and I started training like that. And I would come back every week and say, hey, Kurt, man, and this training that you gave me is really working. And he says, what do you mean? I says, I've been getting 3 miles in, 21 minutes, 3 miles in 20 minutes, and the one time I got 3 miles in 20 minutes, I don't know how fast, I don't think people realize how fast you have to run to do that, right? So I tried to get 18 minutes, and that's like a 6-minute mile, people. And at my best, I mean, it was something. And I always wanted to wrestle like Kurt Angle. I always looked up to him because of the Olympics and because of what he could do in there. And the funny story is that when I was in WWE, I used to ask Kurt to work out all the time in the ring. And this is a true story, not in a bad way to say, hey, I want to beat you, or I think I'm better than you. But you always want to see how good you are. I knew I was that good on the mat, and I wanted to see how I was with Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medalist. I always said, if I can hang with Kurt Angle, hey, that's great. If I get beat by Kurt Angle, I got beat by an Olympic gold medalist. So I used to ask him, and we used to go back and forth and say, hey, Kurt, you want to roll it? No. I said, well, why won't you wrestle? Why won't you? Vito, you have that look in your eye. He said, and no. So we used to laugh, right? So what happened is that myself, Bobby Lashley, and John Morrison used to go out before the shows, and we used to amateur wrestle each other. The thing was no pancaking, okay? You have to do your takedowns. And you weren't allowed to hurt each other. It was like good old-fashioned wrestling. John Morrison is an amateur wrestler. Bobby Lashley, everybody knows him. Me, I learned wrestling from pro wrestling. I learned how to amateur wrestle in pro wrestling. So we would go round and round, and Morrison would try like hell to get Lashley, and I would try. So one day, I get Bobby Lashley. I get him down. And John looked at me, Lashley looked at me, and the people around the ring said, you got him down. And we laughed because it was a fluke, whether it was a fluke or not, but that's the competitiveness. And I know people used to watch that and say, look at these guys go. And it was like spirit, it was good and fun, and it was the best workout ever. And Kurt Angle inspired me to be better than what I was. Watching him tonight, and like I said, this no disrespect to my friend Kurt Angle, no disrespect to anybody in the wrestling business, but it hurt me to watch him wrestle tonight because he couldn't move like he used to. And he wasn't Kurt Angle. He was in there wrestling. You could see that, his neck was stiff. He was moving stiffly. He hadn't been in the ring. He wasn't that fluid. I know you have to practice, and I know you have to do things. Yes, his body looks good. Doesn't mean you're in wrestling shape. But if everybody was watching him wrestle tonight and they remember Kurt Angle and then watching him tonight in this main event, It's two totally different guys. And you know when they say, "Hey Vito, would you like to go out there and wrestle again? Would you, go out there?" And I've been saying it for such a long time, and I mean it. If I can't be Vito, I don't want to ever go out there again. And I looked at my wife tonight and I said, now you understand why I will never go and step in a ring again. Because I could never be that guy, that animal, that machine, that guy who was silky smooth. And if I have to go out there, and he didn't look bad, but he wasn't the guy I knew. Now, the good thing about this match tonight was that Kurt Angle and Triple H elevated and played with the other guys, which was good. Both of them took bumps for the young guys. Both of them put over the young guys. And I thought that was great. That's what you do, guys. You elevate the guys in there because obviously they don't have enough stars on anybody coming up for them to do this. When you have to pull Cena off his tour for him to come and do one thing, I mean, what did he really do tonight? Made an appearance. He rolled around a little bit. He didn't wrestle that hard, and he got out there. Shane McMahon, which I've been saying is a great wrestler, for somebody who does not wrestle full-time. And they're kind of like pushing him to be a full-time wrestler, and he does a phenomenal job. But you could see, like, he gives his best. He does what he's got to do. He took a hell of an opening bump of Braun Strowman in the beginning. It was beautiful. You know, Nakamura and Finn Balor, they did their indie thing and their wrestling. Bobby Roode got in there. He's just not at that. He's just not at that level to get. I'm not saying Bobby Roode is a bad wrestler, but there's a place for him. You know, he got there. He did his thing. Hey, great. Randy Orton is Randy Orton. He'll always be good. Triple H, Braun Strowman is a monster. That's the way they portrayed him. I thought the interaction with these guys, with Finn Balor, Joe, they got out of there. The interaction during the match with Kurt Angle and Triple H was great. On the SmackDown team, you really didn't see too much. The guys were trying to win. Cena was just there by himself. Randy Orton was there by himself. Shane McMahon was, trying to win. But I think the focus of the match came to the end when we saw it coming, where it was going to be, okay, which, like we said, we didn't really, say it in the week before that it was brother-in-law against brother-in-law because everybody was so focused on, Kurt Angle and Triple H. Now, Kurt Angle and Triple H, they had their beefs during the match, but when it came time, Triple H went over to his family side, took out Kurt Angle, took out Shane, did his thing, and then Strowman. He is going to be the next champion, guys. I don't think it's going to be Roman Reigns. Tonight, they made Braun Strowman. They made him elevate to where he needed to be. Now he's back up to where when he defeated, he was going for the title with Lesnar. He dropped the boss. Beats him to now. If Triple H comes back and beats him, it's all a waste. You need to pack your bags and go to SmackDown. If you're going to stay, he's got to be able to beat Triple H. He's got to be able to go through a few more guys. And I don't think that the Universal title is solely going to be Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns. I think that Braun Strowman might have an honest chance to win that title and be the next heavyweight champion.
What were your thoughts on the way that Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were booked in this match? They came out, they attacked Shane, but then Shane kind of got the best of both of them with the chair, fought them off. Owens takes the RKO from Orton. It's kind of like they were booked like a couple of goofs here. Is that the impression you got?
Well, like I said from the beginning, right, they were in a ha-ha match. They come out. Now, if you are on Team SmackDown and you attack the boss and you're trying to be – how do you walk in that dressing room and try to be part of Team SmackDown? That's the story there. Shane did get the best of them, and he whacked them good with the chairs, but they don't have a place now. Where do they fit in on SmackDown? They attacked the boss. They went against the team. They cost SmackDown the victory. So now what? Where does Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens go? They were in an angle with Breezango. What's next? For them to fight the Ascension? No disrespect to the Ascension, but that's where we're at with them. I can't see them running another angle unless it's a loser leave town match or a loser leave Smackdown. Shane's not leaving. So I think Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens might be finding themselves on Raw, or they might get traded, which would be good. I could see them doing a trade to get, to do a swap. But as far as walking in like in that locker room again after that, where do you go with it? How do you do it?
Real quick before we wrap up here, Vito, they announced that they're going to do Jinder versus AJ for the title on SmackDown. Who do you think they're going to have go over there?
Well, all right, let me ask you a question first. Is the India tour canceled?
I don't think so. For the last I heard is they condensed it into one big show instead of the multiple shows. And Jinder is still wrestling Triple H as far as I know.
Guys, after tonight, for AJ to lose right after this big loss, I don't see him dropping the title. I see maybe a DQ and then maybe going into what's the next pay-per-view for SmackDown?
Clash of Champions in December.
I could see this going to Clash of Champions, Jinder against Styles, and I believe the tour is right after that. So, I mean, that could be it, but I don't see AJ losing 2 in a row. I think them having Jinder Mahal on the show, like I said, to keep the characters fresh, keep them on on TV. But I don't see AJ losing the title, especially after the effort he gave. If they do lose it, it's going to be a screw job finish. And then, like I said, AJ Styles, he's been up, he's been down, he's been up, he's been down. When he doesn't have that title around his waist or he's not a heel, I don't think he's effective. For him to be effective, he's got to be the babyface with the title or he's got to be a cutthroat heel. I think Gallows and Anderson, if you're going to trade Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for Gallows and Anderson, you reunite AJ Styles with those two boys. You're bringing over Zayn and Owens to Raw, and there you have who's over there? Finn Balor, another indie guy, and that could be a stable. But I could see that happening. But I just don't see anything more than that. I really don't, guys.
All right, Vito, let them know where everybody can keep up with you throughout the week,
right.
besides here at Russo's brand.
You want to get on TV today, or you want me to say the send-off? All right, we have I have my sponsor here, my producer, the creative team. Okay?
The whole damn show.
The whole damn show. Hold on a second. Squeeze on in. All right.
Sorry, moving a little slower today than normal.
What's going on, Noel?
My paper has Flair written all over it. Or where my things go. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we both are a sponsored couple for Collar and Elbow. So if you go over to Collar and Elbow, you will be able to use the Big Vito code, all caps, Big Vito, and you get a 10% discount. They're opening up an exclusive line that our designers here have worked on. So there'll be an exclusive Big Vito line. In the meanwhile, head over to prowrestlingtees.com/the Big Vito brand. There are 4 shirts available. Black Friday is coming on Friday. They're going to be offering 20% discount on Black Friday. So go over and get your Big Vito merch, and then I can get some Whoppers. So it's a big deal. We have a new video series that we've been producing this week called Sound Bites. It's Vito reviewing different matches throughout his career, doing the commentary, explaining his psychology and thoughts of the matches. I'm on there with him kind of as the straight man, but it's mostly him. It's called Sound Bites. It's on our YouTube channel, the Big Vito brand on YouTube. on Twitter. Make sure you follow Vito at the Big Vito Brand. He's on Instagram at the Big Vito Brand. He's on Facebook at the Big Vito Brand, and hopefully he'll be in the line at the Burger King buying me Whoppers at the Big Vito Brand. Big Vito Brand. So if you need anything, the Big Vito Brand, and we'll take care of you. Also, check out bigvito.com, but a warning, put Domino's on speed dial because there's a hell of a lot of pizza on there. So you're going to be hungry.
Hell of pizza.
Yeah, hell of a lot of pizza. I smell like pizza. I just ate pizza.
You just ate pizza. Good.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think I covered everything.
All right, Jeff, I think we're good. And then again, people, thank you very much for all the love on Twitter. And like I said, there's peace at the brand. Guys, go easy on Kenny. He's got some ailments. He's not a well man mentally and physically, emotionally. But we're going to give him a second chance to be part of the team. And, guys, if he messes up this time, guess what? You're fired.
It's Pavarotti, the hard shots to the body, the Obama of causing trauma. Oh, no, you better not say that.
No. We can't say anything about Kenny being emotional. He's got recordings. He's got me saying I'm going to get him. I asked him to pass out. He's going to have police over my house.
Did he bug your golf ball? Oh, no, it's Squeezy. He didn't do that. I was just checking to see if there was any kind of thing. We're good with Kenny. We're a family at the brand.
Family now.
We're missing somebody. Where's Uncle Vince?
Vince is incapacitated tonight. He had something to do. That's why it's the Big Vito show.
Oh, is that like when Bobby Heenan had his own show?
That's right.
All right, you're like the Bobby Heenan show. I'm in there. All right.
All right, yes. Jeff, I think we covered everything. Thank you very much for tonight, guys. Keep up the good work. The brand, the team, we're signing off. And everybody have a good night.
Yes, Vince will be back tomorrow, everybody. This has been another Getting Color with your star, Big Vito. I'm Jeff Lane. Take care.